I want to speak about a wonderful book that I've recently read called Hacking Darwin by Jamie Metzl. It's a fascinating book about genetics. Mr. Metzl is an extremely accomplished man. He's worked for the Clinton administration, for the UN. He's very smart, and his book is very well thought out and very well argued. Now, before we get into the book, I want to mention two wonderful ladies. One, Sherri Shepherd, who should just be given an Emmy for the rest of her life every year for her wonderful work in Trial and Error. Just funny and real and delightful. And Sheryl Underwood, because she's just a delightful person. But the reason I'm mentioning them is Sherri has a son, Jeffrey, who was born with problems. And Sheryl has a sister who was born with problems. This is a genetic thing. So I will come back to these ladies and their relations later. In 1908, a Russian scientist named Alexander A. Maxow. I looked it up because I thought maybe it was a misprint. It should have been Maxov, but it was Maxow. Just said there must be, and back in 1908, cells that were stem cells, he guessed or figured out. In 1981, they extracted stem cells. They spent years looking for them or knowing they must be there, and they found them in 1981. In 1998, two scientists or biologists went on CNN and discussed them, and then we had that big mess about stem cells. Here in this country, we decided that, well, there are stem cells that you can't touch. You can't go in and get stem cells. There were some that already existed that were out. Okay, you can use those to research in. A kind of a messy situation. The rest of the world, the rest of the countries in the world, came to their own conclusions, their own ways. There is no unifying principle dealing with how we deal with stem cells in the world. Then, back in the 1950s even, a biologist by the name of John Gurdon took a cell from a frog, a mature frog, and he figured that there must be a way for, but we hadn't found stem cells yet, but they knew they must be there. So he took the nucleus of a frog, a mature cell from a mature frog, and he put it in these cells that seemed to be stem cells. I don't know if they were calling them that then. He switched out the nucleus, and eventually, he didn't get many, but he got living tadpoles. So they knew it could be done. That was back in the 50s. In 2006, a Japanese scientist by the name of Yamanaka figured it out. He took adult cells, liver, skin, heart, bone, whatever, and reversed them back to stem cells. He called these induced pluripotent stem cells. So they went backwards, like Benjamin Button. In 2012, 6 years later, he, Yamanaka, and Gurdon were given the Nobel Prize for their work in biology. Also in 2012, two scientists in Japan, Hayashi and Saito, took adult mouse skin cells and reversed them back and used IVF with these cells that reversed back and got mouse pups. Not a lot, but they got living mouse pups from adult skin cells reversed back to stem cells, then made into eggs and sperm to mouse pups. Not a lot, but it happened. In 2014, 2 years later, human skin cells were made through the same process to eggs and sperm. The cells, I don't think they went all the way to eggs and sperm, if I remember correctly, but we're on the way. That was 2014. In September of 2018, a year ago, blood cells were turned, human-grown blood cells from an adult were turned into egg precursor cells. These could develop into eggs. Now, they weren't fertilized. They didn't take them all the way to be fertilized. They weren't mature enough to do that yet. But it's around the corner. Then, so we have that. It's not safe yet, but we're from blood cells. So, I mean, you draw blood, and there are millions of billions of cells in there. So I'll get to that. The other thing I want to talk about, in 2018, in China, scientists took two separate females, and did this process, taking their adult cells, turning them back into stem cells, and from two females, they made, in mice, we're still with mice, they made viable pups. An American scientist, before 2018, had already done this with two males and made pups. Now, this makes me excited because I could find him out there, and instead of having to go to a woman, he and I could now, not now, it's around the corner, and maybe in my lifetime it won't happen, but it's out there now, that if I could ever find the guy I love, I could have a child with him. Fulfill my promise to my father. And that makes me happy and excited. Now, when you take those blood cells, you don't have to go through it. In IVF now, ask Sherry Shepherd. She's done it to get her son Jeffrey. You get about 15 eggs. In today's world, you can take the blood cells. Instead of going through all the process of that, you can take the blood cells. So you can get millions and billions, maybe, at least thousands of eggs to choose from. So instead of the 15, which then some will have problems, so you can't use them all. So maybe you only have 6 or 7. So, or maybe less. So now you have hundreds, at least, that are viable for you. Hundreds to choose from. So what this means is that you can go through and look at all the hundreds of eggs. You could, it would probably take you all afternoon, perhaps the week, to go in. All right, panel 6, let me see the 200 that are on panel 6, and we'll go through and I'll pick which one of those I want to choose from, and then they'll move on. It will be like a beauty contest of eggs. So there's that. Now, I'm very excited that 2 men or 2 women could have a child. That's exciting to me. However, it's possible, now that you're looking at all these eggs, now that you have this vast amount of eggs to choose from, are you going to choose a homosexual child? You can see, they're pretty certain what characteristics in a fertilized egg lead to homosexuality for either a woman or a male. Are you going to choose a child that's homosexual? If you're Sherry Shepherd, your Jeffrey has brought you joy. Your Jeffrey's problems has made you grow, has made you into the woman that you are today, the lovely, talented woman. So, yes, you would want to protect and have Jeffrey. Cheryl Underwood would want to protect and have her sister. It has made her, taking care of her sister, is part of what has made Cheryl Cheryl. Okay, so maybe we enact laws so that whatever is wrong with Jeffrey, whatever is wrong with Cheryl's sister, we're not allowed to destroy eggs that have that problem. Okay, so that's good. It's good. Maybe we make a law that you can't destroy homosexual eggs. However, if you have thousands of eggs to choose from, in fairness, are you going to choose a homosexual egg? Or a homosexual sperm, for that matter. I don't know. And if you are Sherri Shepherd or Cheryl Underwood, thinking about Jeffrey and her sister and the struggles that they have, are you not, because you wouldn't know them if you were becoming mothers for the first time, would you choose a child that has those problems? Would you want that for your child? You wouldn't know that those things would help you grow. You might intellectually know that, but would you want to do that for your child, to your child? That would be doing it to your child. This, not only are you going to be able to exclude homosexuality and genetic problems, but genetic diseases, horrible genetic diseases, are now going to be eradicated probably. Because who's going to choose a genetic disease? Who's going to choose children like Jeffrey? So what is up there for this is diversity. Diversity is going to be under attack. Because, all right, maybe we here in this country will say, well, you have to allow those type of eggs to be. We can't make you harvest them, but you have to allow them to be, but other countries won't. But other countries may go on and say, well, we don't care. We're going to have all kinds, this is going to bring us in money. Poorer countries are going to say that. Oh my God, we can make a lot of money. You want to come and design your baby? We here in America, with our religious right, may not allow that. But other countries that are poorer will, and people that are wealthy will go to those countries and have designer babies. And I will get back in other talks, hopefully not as long as this one. This one is kind of an introductory talk, so it's a little long. We'll have other countries will choose to be baby brokers, basically. Other countries or entities or terrorist groups or companies or scientific research centers could choose to manufacture dangerous diseases from genetics like this. I will come back and talk to you in other days about things like that. This is my first talk on this. It's an exciting, interesting book. You should read it. It's scary, like I said. It's wonderful. Mr. Metzl is really something. All right. Well, this is number 1 in that. I'll see you tomorrow. I intend to talk about this every day.